Yo, what's up, man? I caught you by surprise. What's going on, bro?
What up? What up? What up? Happy to be here. Tuesday evening, little Tuesday freestyle. I know we got a couple of things in mind. Justin, Ron, how y'all feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I was about to go see Creed, but there's no seats. So I decided to hop on with the boys, pause, and let's get into the topics. Justin, you ready to get into the topics or what's going on? What's the
Yeah,
vibe over there with you? What's the vibe with you?
I'm
Talk
just
to me.
trying to figure out exactly where we're live at right now
Mic check.
because
We're
Mic.
recording.
I'm
We're recording. We're
I'm
recording.
oh well we're recording because I'm over here looking at the live options and I'm like, man, where's this location at? And I'm just not seeing it. The new software has got me tripping.
Are you sure it's a software?
Yeah, it's a
Nah,
software. You know me.
It's a
I stay
software?
clean. I stay clean.
You sure?
nah. I think Justin's just
One
tripping.
hundo.
100. All right. So let's get into it, man. NFL, there was a lot of breaking news as far as franchise tags. So we're going to get into the biggest franchise tag, Lamar, non-exclusive tag. What does this mean? For the people that don't know what a franchise tag is, what's happening with Lamar? What's the situation right now in Baltimore?
Go ahead, Judge.
Yes. So they put him on a non-exclusive tag. So what this means is they're going to allow other teams. Lamar can go off and start talking to other teams and try to get a better deal than what the non-exclusive tag amount is. Now, let's say it's de facto team Lions. Just say whatever team Lions. They say, hey, Lamar willing to pay you X amount of dollars. Lamar's willing to sign for that deal. Well, now the Lions can sign him, but they must send 2 first-round picks to the Ravens as compensation since they do have that tag. So basically what the Ravens are doing is they're able to, let them get those feelers out and not really have to worry about not getting something back. It's a good situation for the Ravens. And they almost got to feel like they're willing to pay him less with this non-exclusive tag because they don't feel like he has the market out there for him. I mean,
Well,
why else would you do that,
I mean, it kind of sounds like it's good for the Ravens and Lamar. But Ben, are you surprised that they didn't just pay the dude? Like, why not just pay him and not have to worry about this?
Well, yeah, they were. I mean, they were supposed to pay him a long time ago. Now we're at the point where it's kind of like, that's already in the past, and we were kind of already thinking, hey, this guy's almost as good as gone. Now this
Yeah.
non-exclusive tag. I mean, this is a first for me. Don't get me wrong. Maybe it's been used on players before, but I haven't heard of it. So this is a new one for me. As far as getting 2 first-round picks, that sounds pretty sweet for the Ravens. I
Yeah.
mean, considering any team that's willing to go and sign Lamar Jackson is probably a team that's going to be like a quarterback away, right? So
Yeah.
those first round picks might be late first round picks, but I mean, at least they get something back. In the NFL, those first round picks are gold, I would say, to teams. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. I mean, I think the wheels should start moving now on this, right? It's kind
Yeah,
of
I
just
think
up in the air with him not playing, him sitting out, towards the playoffs. So I think the wheels should start rolling on this. Might see some interest from teams, the Dolphins. A lot of people were talking about the Dolphins. So we'll see. But I do think that finally the Lamar Jackson, the wheels to that deal are going to start to get moving.
Yeah, and I think that it's the second best scenario for Lamar Jackson. If they didn't pay you which the money that you wanted, which is best case scenario for you, at least now you have the option to say, finally, I can go somewhere, and they're going to be happy because they're getting something back. I'm hearing that Atlanta might be the front runner here. Might see a possible Mike Vick 2.0. But let's
Also
move
could
on.
be a nightmare, Ron, because if he doesn't get the market, doesn't get the money, he gets even less in the franchise tag. So it could
Very
be
true.
worst case scenario and best case scenario at the same time.
I think so, but I'm saying second best scenario because who's not going to want Lamar? Who's not? What team is not going to want to make this happen? So, but that's the situation in Baltimore. Let's move on to New York, man, to the Giants. So, we titled this "More Dimes for Danny," but Saquon gets the tag. So Danny Dimes gets a crazy contract. I think it was 4 years. Not sure on the details here. He's guaranteed 45. I think that we were talking about, Justin. I know you're pulling that up. But another guy talking about tags. Saquon gets the tag. Is this a little, kind of like a little dig at Saquon, or is it fair for the Giants to do this because last year was his breakout year, but before that he had the injuries and they hadn't been winning. All of a sudden, they beat the Vikings and they're in close to the NFC Championship, this and that. So is it fair for Saquon and is it fair for Danny? Is everybody happy in New York with this?
I think it's the market. We saw what's his name from the Raiders, Josh, the running back, he got
Josh
tagged.
Jacobs got
Tony
tagged.
Pollard
Yeah.
got tagged,
Tony
and now
Pollard.
Saquon's been tagged. So I think teams don't want to necessarily pay running backs long-term deals. I think they're kind of learning from what the Cowboys did with Zeke, and we're going to start seeing more tags placed on these 4th and 5th year option running backs. So I think that's just the market.
What about the Danny Dimes situation there, Ben? I mean, he was a guy who this year, let's face it, it was either win or they're gonna move on from you probably. But he showed out, he balled out. And do you think this year specifically got him that contract?
I really do. I think that this is deservedly so for Danny Dimes. I mean, this was a guy who was under Joe Judge. Some would consider that, equivalent to Fields under Matt Nagy and, those coaches that the Bears had. So it was Joe Judge. I mean, that was a guy who was the laughing stock of the league. Finally, he gets a coach, who's considered, a coach who won Coach of the Year, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah.
Dabble won Coach of the Year. Obviously, we saw the changes that he made with Josh Allen. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, who throws, interceptions, limited it to 5 interceptions this year. Although he only threw 15 touchdown passes, he didn't turn the ball over. And if you don't turn the ball over in the NFL more often than not, you're going to have a chance to win. He also helps out, in the running game, in their playoff game, their playoff win against the Vikings. He was their leading rusher. He outrushed Saquon Barkley. He rushed for 700 yards on the season, another 7 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley had 10 touchdowns. So I'm all for Danny Dimes getting paid. I think that we might have unlocked something in Danny Dimes his first year with the new head coach. Now that they know he's a franchise QB, and that relationship is going to be there between Dabble and Danny Dimes now. So they might tailor the offense, kind of around him. Now, I'm not saying all the way to the way that the Eagles did it with Hurts, but this is their franchise guy, and I really think that he's going to be a guy who's going to have you in contention. Can his ceiling be Eli Manning, those 1 or 2 Super Bowl years? Yes, I think that could be his ceiling. Can he be a dominant guy? Because Eli snuck in there. It was Peyton, it was Brady, it was those guys, and Eli snuck in there those years to get his. I believe that with this coach, Danny Dimes, hopefully Saquon stays healthy so they can pay him long term. And guys, let's get the guy a receiver, man. I mean, who was he throwing to in the playoffs? He went in the road into Minnesota, threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was the leading rusher with Isaiah Hodgins from the Bills practice squad as his number 1 receiver. This guy deserved the money. He is a franchise guy. He was drafted in the top 10. Good on the Giants. They finally got guys that know what they're doing in that front office and in the coaching booth.
I mean, we're not going to go into the Kendrick Perkins, Danny Dimes, Eli Manning comparison. We'll save that for another day. We'll save that for the drama on First Take. But it's going to be scary in the NFC East, especially for us Cowboy fans, with what the Giants did, paying their guys, coming off a great year, and then we all know what Philly did. So it's going to be tough for us Cowboy fans in the NFC East. But finally, we're going to wrap up with this headline right here. Carr and Geno are mid, but majorly paid. All right, so Derek Carr got the 4-year contract. He's over there with the Saints now. The Seahawks, $105 million contract for Geno. 2 more. I mean, another guy who, like Danny Dimes, it was, show up or show out, and he showed up. Do you agree with the Geno contract? We'll start. Did you agree with the Geno contract? We'll go there first.
Is Daniel Jones in the Carr and Geno tier, or is he above that? Before we start this topic,
I'm putting Daniel Jones driving the car and Geno's in the backseat. There's levels, man. And Danny Dimes showed us what he could do. He's a younger quarterback. Geno balled out, man, but it was, to me, a freak season. Let's not lie.
But the guy was also like a career backup who finally got his one shot. He's getting paid for his best season ever, albeit this might be Daniel Jones' best season ever. But, Pete Carroll has been in Seattle. We had Joe Judge. I'm putting a lot of it on the past coach for Daniel Jones, but I, too, would put him a tier above Carr and Geno as far as the payday. I do think that he rightfully earned it. Yes, that's a QB market now, but I'm not putting Daniel Jones in the same category as Carr and Geno.
You're putting him above, clearly, is what you're saying.
Yeah, those are guys who are no longer with the teams that drafted them. Those are guys that the teams didn't believe in them. We're talking about guys that are not franchise quarterbacks. Daniel Jones was drafted by the Giants with a very high pick and now has been paid to be their guy for another 4 years. So it's not the same scenario. I don't want to get, tangled up in that gray area as far as Daniel Jones being on the same tier as these guys.
No way.
I'm capping hard for Daniel Jones. Why lie?
Yeah, just like you capped hard for Derek Carr this year. We all know what happened there.
Hey, we're over that.
We're past that. We're past that.
Justin, what tier do you have Daniel Jones at?
Like, if we're gonna go ABC tier, I'm gonna put Gino at the C tier. I'll put Daniel at the B tier, and I'm gonna keep Derek Carr in the A tier for these three. The reason being is Derek Carr had to do so much at the Raiders. He had to survive so much. He never had the same coaches all his career. He had to survive the Raiders, bro. And now he's going to get in a better spot with a better defense around him, where he's going to get in favorable field positions with the Saints. He's in the better spot, and he got paid less than Danny Dimes did. So I want to see Derek Carr succeed. You may be off the Derek Carr train. I'm not. I like where he's in. I like the spot he's in. And let's see this kid thrive, man, because he deserves it. Because all the crap he has to go through, Henry Ruggs, his coach being a crazy, whatever it was it racism? I don't know what he got accused
of.
So
they went out and got Devontae Adams for the guy.
So let's not forget that they went and got Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs is on the backfield. But it's not Derek Carr's fault for not winning.
1 year out of all the years he's been there. Let's be serious, guys. Derek Carr, A tier. Daniel Jones,
I will agree.
B tier.
Justin, I think I might have gotten off a stop too soon on the Derek Carr train because he's set up pretty nice in New Orleans. I'm not going to front. Brady's gone. Who knows who's going to be the quarterback for the Bucks? Who knows who's going to be the quarterback for the Panthers? And, right now for the Falcons, it's Ritter, and they're in the market, right, to upgrade. So the favorites are the Saints right now.
Absolutely.
Led by Derek Carr. I might have gotten off a stop too soon, boys.
Well, the train's coming around. You might be able to pull up right back on it. And I got to say, guys, does the NFL salary cap exist? I swear the Saints just kind of scurve by that. Like they act like that doesn't exist for them. It's crazy. They keep signing players to big deals. Where do they get the money? I just don't understand.
Ian Rappaport reported that $70 million is fully guaranteed once Carr puts pen to paper, with another $10 million guaranteed in 2025. That's insane, right? And this is a guy who's going to make almost $38 million per year on a 4-year deal that's going to average $150 million. It's Derek Carr, boys. Like, let's not forget. Like, we look at the family tree that this guy comes from.
For the Saints, in the position that it puts them in, signing Derek Carr instead of the Falcons getting him, instead of the Bucks getting him, instead of the Panthers getting him, it puts them in the driver's seat.
And I don't want
now, they're the favorites in that division, and there's big question marks at the quarterback position for all those other teams.
I don't want Jameis Winston going 30 for 30 back there, or another season with Andy Dalton. So I get it, but dude, that's a lot of cash. But hey, shout out to Derek Carr. The dude just keeps getting paid.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps it up on the headlines as far as who got tagged, who didn't get tagged, contracts. But anything else that you guys want to touch on?
Yeah, we did have the NFL. I believe he was a rushing leader last year. Josh Jacobs got the franchise tag by the Raiders as well. Were you all surprised to see that? Did y'all expect to see him walk? What did you think?
I think that he was getting ready to bounce, and they're like, "Fuck it, we just have to tag him because we gave Devontae all this money." And we still need a quarterback in a sense, somebody solid. So let's keep him, make sure he's here another year, build on his season. Was he the overall leading rusher last year?
He was.
That's smart play from the front office there. I think that's the only play that you have. And what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Quarterback situation.
You have a quarterback. At least you have him to hand the ball off to, right?
Correct. Yeah. Smart.
Justin, thoughts on Josh Jacobs?
I want to see guys get their bags. I think he deserved it being the leading rusher, but the Raiders are going to be the Raiders. And I think, you can only franchise him one time. I think he's gone next year. And I hope, for his sake, it's not like a Le'Veon Bell situation where he's injured and then, he doesn't ever see that bag come through.
Is the Josh Jacobs tag different than the Saquon Barkley tag? as far as the way the teams feel about them, or are they in the exact same position, both being tagged?
You got to think that the Giants got championships in the last 20 years. When is the last time the Raiders have championships? The Giants are a more competent franchise, so the situation is never the same when it's the Raiders and the Giants. It's just not comparable.
I think
let's take a trip over to Jerry's world. Tony Pollard, boys, gets the franchise tag.
Okay,
Evan Ingram. So Evan Ingram franchised, Deron Payne, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, Lamar Jackson, all today franchised right before the deadline.
I think the TP tag is a Josh Jacobs tag because Josh Jacobs and TP had great seasons. I mean, obviously, TP gets hurt, right? But he's having a hell of a year. If the Cowboys ain't going to pay him, he's gone. Any other team is going to want him, just the way Josh Jacobs is. So it was kind of like, shit, let's keep this guy. Let's handcuff this dude, bringing up a fantasy term, and hold on to him for another year because he's balling out. Compared to the Saquon, where it's like, well, let's tag you because it's fair because you had a great year, but you've been hurt for us the last 2 or 3, and we haven't won.
And I'll come back with this point and let Justin respond. Maybe he sees it this way too, or maybe they're just buying them another year to cut Zeke. Because if they tag him and then, next year maybe they can offload Zeke because it costs them less money than doing it this year, then they can pay Pollard next year as Zeke exits. So I also think that it could be buying them time.
Yeah, and it may be not even paying Pollard next year. There's some rumblings at the draft that they could be looking at a running back this year. So maybe they could be looking for their next guy and not even looking to pay Pollard.
They draft pretty well. That would be stupid.
That's the rumblings. That's what I've been hearing from the Cowboys camp. So if that's the case, you would think they're probably drafting to be the next guy and maybe not even paying Pollard next year. He is banged up. That is a torn, what is it, an ACL that tore? Yeah. Or the 2 ligaments? I don't know. Maybe he's not going to have that burst. So who knows? Who knows what the Cowboys are going to do there?
This one wasn't something we were going to talk about, but let's just get real quick. Does A-Rod go to the Big Apple? We've heard today that there's reports that teams are flying out to talk to him, or the Jets are flying out there to talk to him. What does Aaron Rodgers do? I mean, is it clear that he's not going to be in Green Bay anymore? And is the question now, where does he go? And does he go to the Jets? 1 to 10, how likely is it, 10 being the most, that he's a New York Jet next year?
I think we go 5. I think there's interest there on both parties, but it's just hard to think that he's not a Packer. They did pay him. Really? So I think that's the case. I mean, the Packers, if they let him go, who replaces him? Jordan Love? Do the Packers want to go that route?
It's about that time, Just.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? His third year? Third year there?
That's why they drafted him, to sit a couple of years. It's about that time, Just.
It's the Packer style, right? They get the guy, they let him sit, and then they start him. I mean, maybe.
Ben,
I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go at a 7. I don't know if it's going to be the Jets. It could be the Raiders. I think that obviously it's going to be a team in the AFC because they said they wouldn't deal him to a team in the NFC. So I think that we can take the 49ers off of there, right? And it's got to be a team in the AFC. I think the Jets, the Raiders are the highest probability. The Colts seem to be, pretty set on trading for that number 1 pick and not going that Aaron Rodgers route. So I'm going to go with a 7 because he himself, he's done in Green Bay mentally. It's the team holding on to stay relevant. And I think it's about that time.
Yeah, financially, I don't think I'm going to go with, man, give me an 8.5 here. I'm going to go with the Jets. The reason being is that he doesn't want to be in Green Bay 1, and I think that they have the most to offer. I know they have a lot of young players over there, and they have a lot of, I believe they have a lot of draft picks, or, to me, they just have more in the bag to offer Green Bay, I think, and clearly being a AFC team. I don't think that how cool would it be if he goes back to the Raiders, bro? But I think the Raiders have interest in quarterbacks in the draft. It would be cool. He goes to the Raiders, links back up with Adams, but I don't see that happening. I think that Aaron Rodgers wants the limelight. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but he's in Milwaukee. I mean, imagine all the money he's going to make if he goes to New York. He already has a State Farm commercials. His bag is just going to blow up, man, being over there. I think he
gets weapons if he goes to the Jets. He gets Elijah Moore. He gets Garrett Wilson. Gets Corey Davis. Ozuma, the ex-tight end for the Bengals. There's options for him to throw to.
Great defense.
Breece Hall.
Yeah, we saw Sauce come out, and he tweeted today. He goes, "Hey, A-Rod, come over here. I promise I won't pick you off in practice." A great defensive-minded coach, also. So it's a team he
Robert
can go
Saleh.
to where everything's not on his shoulders. He can count on his
Mhm.
defense to win them some games.
Yeah.
But that kind of wraps it up, man. There was no slides today, no graphics. We just decided let's freestyle because the NFL, it's like Roland says, how the NBA is a gift that keeps on giving. It's cool to still talk about the NFL since we don't have it every Sunday anymore, and we're stuck watching, XFL. So it's cool to talk about the NFL. It was nice,
Damn,
kicking it
did
with
the
you
XFL
boys.
dirty.
I kind of hadn't been on in a while, bro. But hey, check out our stuff, like us, subscribe, and we're dropping videos on NCAA stuff right now on XFL. We have a new segment on the Austin FC Verdes. So we have a lot of stuff coming up. Appreciate everybody that rocks with us, and that's it for us, man. We're out of here.